Okay, welcome to another video on open source chess software. I'm actually doing another video on Scoutfish, which I am having way too much fun with, and I just thought I'd do a little bit more digging into how to search for queen sacs and so on, maybe in a more simplified way, so that it's a bit clearer how Scoutfish can be used. So what I've done here is, I think we were here before. Just have a look at the code, which the Python wrapper, which calls Scoutfish. And returns a list of games which have a certain feature in them, right? So what I've done here is, if you go down to these lines here, I've actually changed it to just looking for the more dramatic queen sacs. I mean, last time I said, okay, queen sacs can be any of these material imbalances, but in fact, evergreen game is where white is short a queen, a rook, and a knight. And I thought, oh well, what about we'll just search for material imbalance, that one, but also where white, in this case, is short a queen, or if I do the black version of it, black is short a queen, or in fact a queen, rook, and a knight. So you get an idea of how you use it. You compose a list of the material imbalances you want. I add 1 and 2 pawns to either side of that, and this line here, I just want to highlight that, is how you actually structure the query. Now what I've done here is I've done the imbalance 4 times, which means that actually that imbalance has got to be maintained for 4 half moves or 2 moves, if you know what I mean, right? So that actually it's not just exchange of pieces. It will actually search for, where one side is down a queen. Now, down a queen may or may not be a blunder. So the way to filter for that is that if white is down a queen, I'm only filtering for games, if you ever look at it, where the result, I search for the result low down here. I did this manually. I could have done it in the search. I search for a result which is actually white's down a queen and white wins. So that gives you a sense of how it runs. Now, I've run this before. I'll just run it again just to show you how it works. That extra parameter is the file that's saved. Now, what I've done this time is I've taken out the filter on great players. So it would have picked up, obviously, quite a few games of Anderssen and whatever. But, I want to see what other games are out there. So this time I got 794 games. Obviously, it's a lot of games. And I just wanted to really have a look. Is it actually finding good, interesting queen sacs or not? Right? So I've loaded up those 794 games. Just have a look at it here. Yeah, so there's some really interesting ones here. We'll go through the first few of them just to show the simple using Scoutfish, queen imbalance. You get some really interesting games popping up, right? So first one we'll look at, it's basically the same game both times. This is actually Legal's Mate or Legal's Trap. I think we can go through the whole game. It's something which I'm sure we're familiar with, but it's quite interesting that just searching the Caser database for queen sacs give it to you. So just a normal opening, bishop c4, so it's Philidors, knight c6, knight c3. So bishop g4, which is now pinning the knight, and yeah, it looks standard. Now the next move here, I don't believe it's best, but it gives you the framework anyway. All right. Now, in fact, black should just take the knight back. Protects the bishop. Yeah. So what often happens if we go back a move before taking the pawn, the main line is white pushes his h pawn. Black bishop retreats to h5, and then you take. Right. However, go back to the game continuation. Knight takes e5, and then now bishop takes d1, which is a dreadful mistake. Allows mate in 2. Please have a look. Pause the video. Find your mate in 2. It's fairly straightforward. Bishop takes f7 check. King e7 and knight e5. Now this is quite amazing. You've got 2 octopus knights covering a lot of the squares, and then the bishop covers the 2 remaining squares. So that is checkmate in the middle of the board. All sorts of pieces on pre and down a queen. So that's Legal's Mate or Legal's Trap or Legal or however you want to pronounce his name. So that came up in my filter. Okay, let's have a look and see what else we can find here. Okay, this is the evergreen game. I'm not going to go through that. Gotham's gone through that. Dan King's gone through that. Everybody's done that game. It's a very interesting game. You should definitely look at one of their videos, sort of the full game analysis. So let's have a look at this next one, which I'm kind of unfamiliar with. Make sure it's recording okay. Good. Excellent. So this is Max Lange versus Karl Mayet. Look at Karl Mayet. He's actually a very strong player in the 1850s in Germany. Max Lange, I mean, obviously Max Lange attack in the two knights and so on. He's has a relatively more famous player. So let's have a look at this game. It's a short game, so we'll just quickly go through the whole game. E4, E5, knight F3, knight C6, bishop C4. So we've got the Italian game, castles. What is this? A delayed Evans Gambit. Took back with the knight. C3. Knight C6. D4. Okay. Evans Gambit. Typical Evans Gambit strategy where you get the big pawn center by sacrificing a wing pawn. Takes. Bishop drops back to B6. So I think we've probably transposed into normal variations. H3. Probably a bit slow. Stopping the bishop from pinning the knight. Knight A5, quite standard in these lines to knock the bishop off this diagonal, and it can't go back to that square. So but of course it is decentralizing. So bishop D3, D5. Now I think D5 is a mistake. Black should have been getting on with his development, basically, right? So let's see what happens. White takes the D pawn and queen takes. This just doesn't look good, does it? Right? Black has a queen developed, a knight on the rim, and a bishop staring at a pawn, and white has two pieces out already castled, and his next knight comes out with tempo on the black queen, sorry. So queen moves to h5. Now rook check. Now there's not much to advise here. The position is +5 already, regardless of what black does. But what black does, it walks into a very interesting mate and queen sack. Okay, knight g5. Right, okay, so now, queen takes d1. Do you take the queen back? Well, you can take the queen back, you're still winning. So what is the winning continuation here? Very beautiful mate, actually. So this is why I put the filter in to force the queen to be off the board, or the material imbalance be a few moves, because definitely a few moves. This is pretty good calculation by Max Lange. So if we go back, he obviously realized when he played knight g5 this combination worked. Oops, sorry, went too far. Let's go back here. So queen takes d1, knight takes f7 check. Obviously the rook is covering those squares, so there's only one move in d7, and now you can still take the queen back and be winning. However, bishop f5 check. Black king is definitely running out of squares. Can't interpose anything. Only one move. King c6. And now a very nice move, which may be the sort of move you would miss. But now that the bishop's covering these squares, the knight goes to d8. Checks the king. Exposed in the center. And then final move, bring the other piece in, bishop f4 check. So actually it's a very nice, the rook's covering the e file, bishops are covering a lot of squares there, and the knight's covering that, well, key in covering that square. So that's a very nice checkmate. So once again, queen sack. Wasn't a necessary queen sack. I mean, white was already well ahead in development and plus a couple, but by sacrificing his queen or not taking the queen back, you get a very sort of one of these a lot like Immortal Game and so on. Next one, I'll just look at a couple more. I don't think this. Oh, well, we can go through this whole game. Let's have a look at this. Sicilian. Open Sicilian. I don't think f5 is a very good move. +3 for white already. Opening center. Okay, there's a lot of threats here with queen checks and so on. So black stops that. Okay, threatening to get in there. Well, black allowed it, but he gave his king room, so it's not checkmate. That's not going to help though, right? This just looks disastrous, doesn't it? Right? Bring the knight back, which allows mate in a couple. Look for it quickly. Queen sack. Knight check. Knight check. Hey. Just another amazing knight covering all the squares and kind of like a smothered mate. So these this filter for Queen Sacs is coming up with some really interesting little games to look at. They're all miniatures basically, right? The next two, I'll just look at two more because these have got big name players on them. We'll look at Zukertort, and we'll actually go to move 30 on this one. Black move 30 position. Knight f5 check. Black moves his king. Okay. There's a winning queen sack here. Would you believe it? Mate in 8. Pause the video by all means and do some analysis. And when you're ready, let's go. So it's not what you'd think. I mean, it's not taking the pawn with the queen because then the pawn will just take back. It's actually just a check sacrifice in clear air, which is quite unusual, right? And let's see why this works. So must take when there's nothing else to do. Now the point is rook h3 check. Now the problem is that if the king moves back to the g6 square, then obviously, you know, you've got the knight is protecting / covering both of those squares, and it'll simply be rook h6 checkmate. So the king can't go back. That's why the queen was able to draw the king forward, which is obviously a common theme with a lot of these checkmates, right? So king g4. There's a few continuations. They all mate in 6. Bishop c1. Bishop c1 is one of them. It's actually not even a forcing move. Could have done bishop d1 check. That was the alternative. So now, you know, black just throws a few pieces away. There's nothing to be done. Rook f3 check. Take it with the rook. Rook h8, that doesn't achieve anything, and now it's just rook g3 and the final piece of the puzzle. Quite interesting. The bishop bounced down that way to check from behind. I'm having a few little problems with the arrows today, but let's see. Yeah, like that. That's quite good, right? That was that square. So that was quite fun. And then the last one I'm going to look at today, just to give you a sense, I've actually gone through all these first 7 games. You can see all the games which are showing up as queen sacks are all interesting games, right? So, you know, bear that in mind. I'm going to go to move, what is it, 28, I think, maybe, no, 28, right? So, I mean, you can see that, you know, black's king side is totally exposed, and, you know, got a lot of pieces not really helping in the defense. So what black does, queen d6, you know, that makes sense. Nothing good here, by the way. Queen d6, you know, helps to, you know, at least drive away the queen. Fair enough. Pause the video, find the continuation to the end. You'll be shocked to know that there's a queen sack here. So let's have a look. Queen takes h7 check. Obviously the king gets drawn out of the corner, and f6 check. It's not the only way to win, but f6 check is the nicest one because obviously it's a discovered check, opening up the bishop's diagonal, which is very nasty. You could interpose. I don't know how much that helps. Actually, it doesn't seem to help according to the engine. So logical continuation is just drop back to g8. Now it's bring the king back out. This is once a common theme. Did it with the queen last game we looked at. Doing it with the bishop this time. King's got to come out of the corner. Now gets checked on the H file. And remember the other rook's there. Can't escape forwards. Go backwards and then in the corner, and it's checkmate. Right. So I'll stop there. In my own time, I'll keep on going through a few of these games. They're really interesting. And what I was going to use it for as well is I'm going to add a few more of these names to my list of important sort of players of the past, so that they'll show up in filters I do in the future, where I actually do filter by the names. Okay, so that's all I wanted to say today. I mean, I hope you enjoyed that, and thank you for watching.